Hello friends! Today I'm going to be starting the largest painting that I'll have ever done. I am super excited, so we're just going to get started. Let's go! This is what we're using. We're also going to be using these. 2 years ago, I got this canvas back here. Hold on while I bring it out. This is the canvas. As I paint the background, I'll give you a little bit of backstory on it. Like I said before, I got this canvas 2 years ago, and it has lived in my art room untouched ever since. I was waiting for an idea to come and inspire me that would help me push through the anxiety of not only painting on something so large, but also painting on canvas. Josh and I went on a camping trip in July, and while we were there, we saw 3 moose, and we also kept finding these wood bark pieces. It was almost like they had just all fallen off of the trees, probably after a forest fires. But when I found these pieces, I instantly came up with this idea for this canvas. I wanted to create a 3D pop-out magical forest. So I collected the best pieces and brought them home. I had the idea that I wanted to actually just glue them to the canvas. So I'm using gouache here to paint the background. I decided to use gouache because I wanted you to be able to see through the canvas just a little bit for a surprise element. You'll have to wait to see. And then I plan to use acrylic for the trees. Okay, background's done. Let's let it dry for a while, and then we'll start on the next step. I'm going to spray both sides with this to try and prevent wood rot. The next step was for me to decide the placement of the bark and final composition. So this is me grouping them by the pieces that looked most similar with each other, so they looked like they came from the same tree. In the end, this gave me about 3 trees to work with. I then started sanding the edges and backs of them to clean them up a little bit, and it was while I was doing this, I realized my initial idea to just glue them on would not work as there was not enough surface area. I came up with the idea to use blocks of wood behind them as they would have more surface area to stick to the canvas. And so this is me measuring them out. I was going to use the saw that was next to me but didn't have a way to hold these pieces of wood, and I could not find the hand saw anywhere. I'm in my best friend's basement. Her dog hears me. However, I found a saw. This is what I'm looking for. Oh, okay, let's not break it. So I just spent the morning measuring and cutting little pieces of wood, and it's not gonna work. So I'm changing ideas again And we're switching to wire wrapping, I'm gonna attach it with wire, I'm hoping. The reason why this isn't really going to work for me, technically it's gonna work, it would glue down. However, you can see them and I just don't like it. To me it looks a little bit tacky, so I'm going to attach it with wire, which was actually my boyfriend's initial idea, and I was like, no! But yeah, we're going with that. So, wish me luck. I was afraid using a power drill on these fragile pieces of bark might break them, and so instead I used a very mini screwdriver to create the holes that way. And then I used a sewing needle to poke in the canvas where I wanted the wire to go through. By doing this, it made it very easy to push the wire in and then just twist it around in the back. After I attached all of the wood pieces, I moved on to my most anticipated part of this project, which was the surprise element I didn't tell you about earlier. And this is that I wanted this 3D magical forest to have fireflies, and I wanted them to actually glow. So I got a remote controlled light set that has 8 different settings that causes it to flicker in different ways. This is me attaching it to the back and making sure that the lights are shining mostly through where the background's going to be instead of the trees.
The next day.
You ever ready to start a painting and then you're just afraid to start the next step, and so you have everything prepped and then you sit there and you stare at it until you get the courage? That's where I'm at. I finally gained the courage to jump right in and start painting with the acrylic. And so this is me painting the trees where you would see them behind the 3D pieces of bark. I kept it loose and looking a little bit more artistic because I did want to try to color match the bark as much as possible. However, I did want it to look like a painting. I was so nervous to start this mainly because I haven't really used acrylic much. I discovered my love for painting just about a year ago. I had dabbled before, but never really making and finishing paintings until the quarantine started. But I hadn't explored with acrylic as much, and when I did explore with it, I realized that it dried so much quicker than gouache, and so I wasn't able to do some of the things that I like to do with the reactivation of the gouache, and I needed to think about it in a different way. I needed to paint with it like acrylic paint instead of like gouache paint. So I did a couple practice paintings before this one, and it did help me. I added some branches on, and this is the branch that I started working on in my mind, all I could fixate on was that branch and how I did not like it. I don't know if you guys have that with your art where you'll do something on it and it doesn't necessarily look bad, but in your mind, you're just like, no, I can't have it. So by fixing this branch, I ended up changing the composition a little bit by adding a few more skinnier trees in the background. And like Bob Ross has said, there's no mistakes in art, just happy accidents, and I really do enjoy having these variants of sizes of the trees. I also added a diagonal one to switch up the composition a little bit and make it not look as perfect as a forest, because nature isn't perfect, and that's what makes it look so spectacular. I did question myself during this whole period and was a little bit more in my head than I would be with gouache, but I am glad that I'm pushing myself into trying other paint mediums as well as other mediums in the future. I added some silhouetted trees to switch up the composition yet again and to add more depth into the piece. These solid black trees were harder than the other ones. Using acrylic and making a flat color wash is a little bit more difficult than with gouache. I wasn't 100% happy with the silhouette tree in the middle. I ended up going to bed and sleeping on it and coming back to it the next day. And by coming back to it with a fresh perspective, I was able to fix it to a point where I would be content. I then added some highlights and shadows and finished up the painting. I waited till it was dusk to try it out, and let's see how it looks. I want to thank you so much for joining me as I made this magical 3D pop-up forest. Thank you so much, and please share, like, comment, subscribe, show me some love. I'm needing some help on this YouTube algorithm. And see you next video.